Have you ever felt invisible? Even in your own home? I did. For 26 years, I was the daughter who understood. The one who stayed home while everyone else went out. The one who cooked meals, paid bills, and made sure the house ran smoothly. And for all those years, I thought that was enough. I thought my parents saw me. I thought they appreciated me. But it took one simple sentence to show me the truth. We just can't afford to take two, Ella. It wouldn't be fair to cancel when everything's already booked. Your sister is going on the trip. You'll understand. You always do. I laughed, but it wasn't funny. It was sharp. Hysterical almost. Right, I said. Of course I'll understand. They thought it was just another disappointment. I'd swallow. Another moment where I'd quietly accept being second. Another day I'd cover bills, stay home, and let the spotlight fall somewhere else. But they had no idea that while they were packing swimsuits and beach bags, I was packing something entirely different. I wasn't planning how to survive in that house anymore. I was planning how to leave it. For the first time, I considered taking everything that was mine. The furniture I had paid for, the appliances I worked for, the TV I saved up to buy. They thought they were leaving me behind. But when they returned from that vacation, they would find nothing. Have you ever been treated like the extra in your own family? It doesn't happen overnight. It builds, layer by layer, like dust no one bothers to wipe away. Until suddenly, you're choking on it. A week before the trip, I was in the kitchen, standing at the counter I had bought, scrolling through emails from work. Rent reminder, utility notice. A polite thank you from my boss for staying late.
Again.
Reminders that my life revolved around responsibility. I heard my mom's voice in the living room, bright with excitement. The resort sent the confirmation. Ocean view room, breakfast buffet, spa credit. She's going to love it. My chest tightened. I stepped out, leaning against the doorway. My mom waving printed papers. My dad nodding, pretending to care about details he'd already forgotten. My sister sat on the couch, grinning at swimsuit ads on her phone, and still, no mention of me. I forced a smile. Hey, what's going on? Oh, Ella, we're finalizing the trip. It's a big deal, after everything. Your sister really needs this break. A break from what? Her social life. My dad shot me a look I knew well. Ella, one word, sharp enough to cut. Don't make it about you. A few days later, the truth came out at the dinner table. On plates I'd bought with my first grown-up paycheck. So about the trip, my mom began. I could feel the weight before she even spoke. We wanted to take you both. But we just can't afford 2 tickets this time. Prices went up, the resort fees are crazy, and your dad's hours got cut. We had to make a choice. I stared, and you chose her. She flinched but didn't deny it. We promised your sister months ago. She's been looking forward to this for so long. You've been so busy with work anyway. You hate crowds. You wouldn't enjoy it the same way. My dad added, annoyed, don't turn this into drama. Ella, it's just a vacation. There will be other trips. I laughed bitterly. Will there? Because I don't remember being invited to the last one either, or the one before that. My sister looked uncomfortable, but not enough to give anything. Up. Ella, come on, she said. Don't make them feel bad. We can't always do everything together. But it wasn't about the trip. It was about the pattern. Birthdays where her gifts were perfect, mine last minute. School events where they screamed for her from the stands and forgot to ask how I did. Nights I stayed late at work covering the electricity bill while she begged for money to go out. I live here too, I said quietly. I help pay for this house, but when it's time for something fun, I suddenly don't exist. That's not fair, my mom said. We appreciate you, do you? I shot back. Because every time something good happens, it's magically for her. Every sacrifice, that's me. Every bill, I'm there. But this vacation. It's sorry, Ella, maybe next time. Silence. For once, no one had a quick answer. You're overreacting, my dad finally said. You're an adult. Life isn't always equal. Your sister is younger. She still needs these experiences. Younger needs more attention, more money, more everything. I needed you too, I said, voice trembling. I needed you when I was working double shifts instead of going to parties. When I was putting groceries on the table while you took her shopping. I needed you, and I kept being the reliable one you could ignore because you knew I wouldn't explode. They looked everywhere but at me. That hurt more than the words. It told me exactly where I ranked. That night I lay awake, replaying moments that suddenly didn't feel small anymore. The time they forgot my college scholarship ceremony but showed up early to my sister's cheer competition. The Christmas where my gift was a sweater 2 sizes too big, hers a new phone. The night the power almost got shut off until I quietly paid the bill. They had trained me to be invisible. Then they threw the vacation in my face as if I wouldn't notice. Only this time, I did, and the anger didn't fade overnight. It grew. It sharpened. It started turning into something else. Something that looked a lot like a plan. The morning they left for the airport, the house felt like a stage set for a play I'd seen too many times. Suitcases lined up. Laughter bouncing off the walls. My sister posing in her airport outfit while my mom reminded her to tag the resort. I stood in the kitchen holding a mug I didn't want, watching. My mom hugged me quickly. Don't forget the plants, okay? And if any packages arrive, put them in the hallway. We'll bring you something nice from the gift shop. The words landed like insults. I forced a smile. Sure, have fun. My dad patted my shoulder. We'll only be gone a week. Try to relax. Then they were gone. The house fell silent.
Heavy, strange, satisfying. I set the mug down, walked into the living room, and looked at everything.
The couch, TV, coffee table, shelves, blender, microwave, dishes, rug, lamps, all the things I had bought over the years. I pulled out a folder. From my desk drawer, receipts, invoices, email confirmations. Proof they were mine. Proof I had been keeping this house running while they played favorites. I called a moving company. It's mostly furniture and appliances, everything I personally paid for. I'm moving into a new place. He asked, will anyone else be there? No, I said. They're away. The next day, I went apartment hunting. A small 1-bedroom near the beach, far enough from my parents, but close enough to smell salt in the air. The rent wasn't cheap, but I had been budgeting my whole life. My bank account could handle it. The landlord, a woman with tired eyes, handed me the lease. You sure about this? She asked. I've been on my own for years. This is just the first time it'll be official, I said. Moving day came. The truck pulled up to my parents' house. For a second, I panicked. But then I remembered they were hours away, sipping airport lattes, posting stories like everything was perfect. I let the movers in, pointing out what to take: couch, TV, bookshelf, bar stools, microwave, coffee maker, dishes, silverware, rug. All of it. One mover raised an eyebrow. You sure? I held up my folder. Positive. Room by room, the emptiness spread like a storm. Living room stripped, kitchen emptied. Every time the movers asked, I checked the folder, nodded, and watched another piece of my quiet revenge click into place. I left some things on purpose. The ugly lamp my mom loved, the chipped side table my sister insisted on keeping, the discount mirror they bought when I first moved back home. I wanted them to see the difference between what I had provided and what they had chosen. When the last box was loaded, I walked through the house one final time. Hollow, but not sad. Honest. For the first time, the house reflected how I had always felt inside it, filling empty spaces, unnoticed, until I wasn't there anymore. At my new apartment, the movers carried everything in. My space was mine. Couch. Books, dishes, TV mounted on the wall, undeniably mine. I locked the door behind me and felt something I hadn't felt in years. Freedom. This was only the beginning. The first night in my new apartment, the silence felt almost deafening. Not lonely, not empty, but different, free. For the first time in years, I could hear myself think without someone else's schedule, someone else's needs, or someone else's voice dictating the rhythm of my life. I sat on my couch, and realized how much of me had been missing in my own home. The chairs, the TV, the rug, all pieces I had bought, all pieces that carried years of my effort, my labor, my presence. And now they were here, with me. Not just furniture, not just possessions, but proof that I could finally claim my life. My phone buzzed incessantly. First my mom, then my dad. Then a flood of messages from my sister. I let them go to voicemail. For the first time, I didn't have to answer. Dinner in my apartment felt like a ritual. I cooked what I wanted, at my pace, ate when I wanted. 4. The first time, there was no invisible checklist of their needs, no invisible approval I had to earn. I could breathe. The next morning, I woke to more messages. Rachel, my best friend, was the first to call. Girl, they're losing it, she sighed, breathless. Your mom is screaming from the porch. Your dad's pacing the driveway like a wild animal. Your sister, she's frozen halfway up the steps. I smiled, not out of cruelty, not out of revenge, but satisfaction. They were facing consequences. Finally, of choices they had ignored for decades, but as the hours passed, I began to feel the weight of what I had done. Not regret, but responsibility. Responsibility for making a statement they couldn't ignore. Responsibility for finally telling them, without words, that I would no longer be invisible. By midday, my sister tried to call. Again, I didn't pick up. I wasn't ready to soften. The afternoon bled into evening. I watched the sunset from my balcony, letting the ocean breeze clear my mind. This was my new rhythm. This was my new life. I didn't owe anyone an explanation, but I had made my point. The next day, I went out to run errands, noticing for the first time how few people actually understood my story. Whispers followed me, neighbors who had always assumed I was invisible, co-workers who never saw my contributions at home. And yet, for the first time, I didn't care. Their recognition wasn't required. My life wasn't up for discussion. The phone rang. It was my sister again. She sounded different. Smaller, not demanding, not entitled, but uncertain. Ella, she started, voice low. Can we meet? Somewhere neutral. I paused. My instinct was to ignore her, to keep the clean boundary I had set. But something in me remembered the girl she had once been, the one who had been my ally, my partner in crime, long before favoritism and family politics had divided us. Fine, I said. The beachside diner tomorrow. 5 p.m. Be there. The next day, I arrived at the diner, scanning the booths. There she was. No makeup, no Instagram-ready outfit. Just my sister, looking nervous in a way I had never seen before. You look different, I said. She snorted. Yeah, well, it's been a week. We stared at each other in silence, a silence weighted with years of unspoken truths, of invisible labor, of resentment bottled up and finally set free. I'm not here to guilt you, she began. I promise. I need to understand. I know the vacation was messed up. I knew it when Mom told me. But she said you were fine with it, that you understood. I let her words hang. Of course I understood. I always did. That had been my role, my identity, my shield. I wanted to be, I said quietly. I just learned early that wanting didn't matter. If I didn't pick up the slack, no one would. So I did. And then they decided that meant I didn't deserve anything extra, just more work. Her eyes filled with tears. When we came back and saw the house, I was mad at you at first. I thought, how could she do this to us? But then I started adding things up. I listened, surprised at her honesty. She was finally seeing the patterns I had lived with for decades. They never noticed? She whispered, how much you've been paying for, how much you've been doing. Now you know, I said. Congratulations. The curtain's been pulled back. Her face crumpled. She didn't argue. She didn't defend her actions. She simply sat there quiet, absorbing the truth. And in that moment, I realized that even the golden child could see the cracks in the system. Even the one who had benefited from favoritism could finally acknowledge it. If only she had the courage to be honest. We didn't hug. We didn't even hold hands. But we left the diner walking side by side. Not reconciled, but aligned in a way we hadn't been for years. For the first time, there was the possibility of a new relationship, one built on honesty, not expectation. Meanwhile, my parents were learning to live with the fallout. The empty house was a constant reminder of everything they had ignored. They argued constantly about money, about furniture, about what had been mine and what had been theirs. The neighborhood whispered, and for once, they weren't in control of the narrative. My sister tried to salvage the story online. But the truth had already started to circulate. People were asking questions. Didn't Ella pay for most of the house? Didn't she keep the family running? And suddenly the golden family image began to crack. I, on the other hand, focused on building my life. I picked up extra shifts, not because I had to, but because I wanted to pad my savings, to cement my independence. My apartment became my sanctuary. Pictures on the walls, plants thriving on shelves, meals cooked on my schedule, TV shows watched. Without permission or interruption, promotion at work came assistant manager. More responsibility, more control, more proof that investing in myself was far more rewarding than pouring into people who didn't see my worth. Of course, there were nights when the apartment felt too quiet, when the weight of what I had done pressed on me. I had removed my safety net. I had forced my family to confront their neglect. Sometimes I questioned if I had gone too far. Then I remembered my mom's words. We can't afford to. Your sister is going. I remembered the countless times I had swallowed disappointment, quietly kept the house running, stayed invisible. And I realized, no. I had gone exactly as far as I needed to go. Weeks passed. My new apartment became more than just a place to live. It was a statement. Every book, every plate, every plant on the windowsill was proof that I had built something for myself. No one could touch it. No one could dictate my schedule. And no one could ignore my contributions ever again. But the phone kept buzzing. My parents, my sister, friends checking in. I let most of it slide. My boundaries were clear. I wasn't answering for anyone else's feelings anymore. Not yet. Then. One Sunday afternoon, my sister called. Her voice was quieter than before, sincere, unguarded. Ella, can we talk? I paused. Part of me wanted to ignore it. But the other part, the part that remembered all the years we had been allies, said, yes. We agreed on the diner again. Neutral territory. This time, there was no tension in the air, just a cautious curiosity. She arrived first, looking smaller somehow, nervous, fidgeting with her water glass. She didn't make excuses. She didn't deflect. I need to say this, she said. I know I enjoyed the favoritism. I knew it was unfair, and I didn't stand up for you. I'm sorry. Her honesty hit harder than any apology I had expected. For years I had carried the weight alone, silently. Now she was acknowledging it. And for the first time, it didn't feel like an attack. I needed you too, I said quietly. When I was working double shifts, when I was keeping the house running, when I was invisible, I needed someone to notice. And you didn't. You enjoyed the advantages while I carried the weight. She nodded, shame in her eyes. I know. I hate that I didn't see it sooner. I should have refused to go on that trip without you. It's too late for that now, I said. But we can start something different, together. We didn't hug, didn't hold hands, but we walked. Out of the diner side by side. There was a sense of alignment, a shared understanding. Something that hadn't existed for years. Meanwhile, my parents were unraveling. The empty house, stripped of my contributions, became a constant reminder. They fought constantly over who owed what needed replacing, what had been mine. The neighborhood whispered. People asked questions. The image of the perfect family shattered. I watched from my apartment as the consequences played out. Not with joy, not with malice, but with a calm satisfaction. They had ignored me for decades. Now they were facing the reality of that choice, life. Moved forward. I worked more, saving money, building stability. My apartment grew into a home, framed memories, plants thriving in sunlight, a space completely under my control. I cooked when I wanted, watched shows when I wanted, lived according to my rhythm, not theirs. Promotion came. Assistant manager, more responsibility, more money, more freedom. Proof that when I invested in myself, the growth was undeniable. Of course, not everything was easy. Some nights, the silence felt too heavy. The absence of my old life pressed on me. But each time I reminded myself, I had claimed what was mine. I had set boundaries. I had told the truth about my worth. Then came the call from my mom. "Can we talk?" she asked. I considered ignoring it. But something in me remembered my sister's honesty. Maybe they could change, maybe not. But I owed them this conversation, not for them, for me. We met at a small cafe, neutral ground. They looked older, worn, not dramatic, just tired. My mom's eyes puffy, my dad's shoulders slumped. "We owe you an apology," my dad said stiffly. "We handled things badly." I raised an eyebrow. "Which things?" "The vacation? The years of ignoring me while you relied on me." My mom exhaled. "All of it. We didn't see you, not really. We only saw what you did. And when your sister needed something, we gave it to her. It felt easier." "Easier," I repeated. "You spoiled her because you felt guilty about me. And then you used me to finance your guilt. That's the truth." They looked at me, shame flashing across their faces. My dad spoke softly. "We were proud of you, your responsibility, your steadiness. We convinced ourselves you didn't need attention. We were wrong. We were taking advantage." I shook my head. "You didn't care enough to stop." I was the path of least resistance, and I finally said no. Silence stretched between us. Life continued around us while our family tried to stitch a semblance of reconciliation. "I'm not asking you to move back," my mom said finally. We don't want to lose you completely. We want a chance to do better, if you'll let us." I studied them. I saw guilt, fear, shame, and perhaps genuine regret. "Here's what I offered. I will stay in contact. I will answer calls sometimes. I might come by for short visits. But I'm not your safety net anymore. Respect or nothing. You want proof? Go to therapy, both of you. Commit to it. Learn why it was okay to treat your daughter like this. Learn how to change." My mom exhaled. "If that's what it takes, we'll do it." I nodded. "Then we'll see." We talked more, not about money, furniture, or trips, but small things. Work, weather, the cafe. It felt strange, almost like strangers catching up, but also like the first thread of something real. Walking back to my apartment, I realized I no longer felt obligated to fix them. Their growth, their change, that was on them. My responsibility was my life, my boundaries, my space. That night, my sister texted. She told me they agreed to therapy. "We have to show up differently," she said. I smiled. "Right, but remember, if they don't follow through, you can make your own choices." 2. I curled up on my couch, my reclaimed couch, surrounded by everything I had built for myself. I thought about the girl I had been months ago, the one who silently absorbed injustice. The girl who packed up her possessions, emptied the house, and walked away. And I thought about the woman I had become, someone who didn't just react, but set boundaries. Someone who knew her worth, demanded recognition, and refused to be invisible. The real revenge wasn't the empty house, the gossip, or the frustration they now faced. The real revenge was this: reclaiming my life, taking back my power, standing for myself in a world that had long ignored me. And whether they fully changed or not, I knew one thing: I would never let anyone make me feel like the extra in my own story again.